Support. Support is something that is a really important thing to me and something that I'm hugely, hugely passionate about. And I want to speak to you about what real support looks like and why you might be feeling a little bit confused. We all want to be supported, right? Everybody wants to feel supported, wants to be supported. And depending on what you're going through at any given time, the level of support that you want and need is going to change, obviously. If you're in the workplace and you're looking for support from your boss, maybe it's just knowing that they're there to answer questions, they've got your back, you can bounce ideas off them, that they're approachable. If it's support from family, it might be knowing that you can just always rely on them, that no matter what happens, they're always going to be there. If it's support after trauma, well, that's a completely different ballgame, right? And I am not even going to pretend to say exactly what that looks like because it's different for everybody, right? When you experience trauma, what you need and the support you need and want is going to be different. Some people want and need a lot of support. Some people don't want as much, or they want to know people are there, but not. It's so different. It's so different, right? So again, I don't want to pigeonhole anyone, and I don't want to say what support you're going to want and need, or have wanted and needed, in case it's not your reality, right? Because every single person is different. And the reason for this episode is really to share the big no-nos when it comes to support and why sometimes, despite people telling you that they support you, that they're there for you, that you don't feel that way. You don't feel like they actually are. We live in a society where, unless you have experienced trauma, unless you know what it's like to be dismissed, abandoned, really in need of support, or unless you are a trained professional in that area, unless you've known what it's like to have no one provide you that support, we lack the understanding. So basically what I'm saying here, I feel like there was a lot of words. If Unless you've been through trauma, unless you have been dismissed, abandoned, unless you know what it's like to have no one give you that support, or, and I'm adding in an extra layer here, unless you're a professional in the trauma space, people lack the understanding of what it is to support someone. Very big umbrella I'm putting here, right? I'm sure not every single person that doesn't fall under those categories doesn't understand what it is to be supported, but a lot of the time people don't. And it seems ridiculous. It seems so ridiculous to me because I think of supporting someone and I feel like it's just common sense. But with common sense becoming less and less common and the need to be significant becoming more of a priority, we're losing touch with our humanity. We're losing touch with what it is to be relatable, what it is to support someone. And I say it a little bit tongue in cheek. As I said, I know that there are a lot of people that know how to support people and genuinely do support people, but I think there are some very big gaps. And those gaps in society are supporting the supporters. There is so much support available for people who need it, whether they have experienced trauma, mental health, addiction, whatever it is. We have so many resources, which is so amazing, especially in Australia. So amazing, the resources we have. But what do we have for the people caring for them? What support and services do we provide for the people that are supporting the people who are in it? This is a huge part of my work and like a very, very big passion of mine, in case you can't tell. It's just a huge gap. When we look at organizational support, this kind of grinds my gears as well because so often We have all of the policies and procedures in place. We have the right things that organizations should be doing, but managers and bosses are approaching it from the tick the box approach. All right, I've got to check on their welfare. Tick, I sent them a text message. Tick, how you going? Tick, I picked up the phone, they didn't answer. Or if they do answer, it's like, how you going? Oh, yeah, cool. Like they're not supporting them. They're ticking a box, and it fucking annoys me. Anyway, and friends, you know, some friends, despite how much we love them, when we need their support and we're in times of need, make it about themselves. Or they try and, yeah, they just make it about themselves. There's so many different like branches of that statement that I could go down, but I'm not going to. So let's look at what support is not, and then we can look at what real support is. The chances are, if you have someone telling you that they're supporting you, but you don't feel like they are, or you feel a bit like, oh, it's probably because of one of these reasons. They've either told you what to do or they're telling you what to do. So you're going to them and sharing, certain things with them, and they're trying to tell you what to do to solve your problems. That's not real support. Or they're talking over you. You're trying to talk to them and they just like they're not listening, or they're distracted, or they're talking over you. That's not support. When we look at organizational support, only you feel like your boss supporting you is asking about your KPIs or your metrics or your achievements. There's never a how are you? It's just what have you done? What have you achieved? Have you reached this goal? Are you going to reach this deadline? That's not support, right? That's strategy. That's business operations. It's not support. Telling them they'll be okay. And this is can be a really great thing, but also can be super, super harmful, right? So if it's done in the right way, sure, great. But if someone's coming to you and they are just completely devastated, let's use a breakup for an example, and they are just like gutted, like, you'll be fine. There's plenty more fish in the sea. I laugh because it's just such a shit response. Not supportive, not helpful, not anything. Maybe in a month's time, maybe in 2 months' time, but when they're in the thick of it, when they're like completely and utterly heartbroken, don't just tell someone they'll be okay. You'll be fine. What if they're not? You know? Ignoring or avoiding challenging conversations. Also, not supporting people. If you can't hold what someone's talking to you about, don't pretend to, right? And don't dismiss it or bypass it. I have been to psychologists and I laugh now, but I've been to psychologists where I've had a couple of sessions. I'm like, all right, like there's shit that I need. I'm here for a reason. I'm not here to be like, how's your day? How's this? And I think there's like three of them. And I'm like, I have some stuff that I need to work through. And they just like dismissed me. Like one was like, oh, well, don't share it with me because I'm retiring in a week. So I don't want you to open up to me because, then you'll get someone else. And then someone else was like, oh, yeah, 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 we'll get to that. And someone else like just spoke about something completely different. And I'm sitting there going, well, you're meant to be the person that I go to help me with this. And the only evidence I have of psychologists helping me, supporting me, are people that don't want to talk about it. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Brushing off concerns is another one. Oh, grinds my gears. Grinds my gears. When someone shares something with you and you're like, oh, don't worry about it. My partner has a habit of doing this sometimes. Like, oh, I'm really worried about this. He's like, oh, just don't worry about it, babe. Just think positive. Fill up your cup. Fuck you and your cup. Just acknowledge this is my concern. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to solve anything. But don't like just pretend it doesn't matter, right? It might be the most ridiculous concern that I have, but in that moment, that's important to me, right? And if you have shared that with someone and they're like, oh, you can either get really frustrated or then start to think that there's something wrong with you because, oh, I should just not worry about this. And that's jolting to the nervous system because it's like, well, I'm worried about this, but they're telling me not to worry about this, so I better not worry about this. But there's still all this underlying friction that you haven't dealt with, right? Not support. Um, Avoiding, here's another one that's not support. Avoiding finding solutions to problems people express. So probably more so in organizations, but could be in relationships as well. If someone expresses a problem, help them find a solution. Help work through that with them if you're supporting them. And especially if they're expressing the problem and it's to do with you, right? I've had throughout my career a number of clients, very small number, two or three, who have expressed something to me that I've done or said that has really upset them. And those conversations have been some of the biggest growth points in my life, in my business, for me personally. And we worked together to resolve the problem, to resolve the issue. But if I had have turned around and been like, oh, well, that's your problem, not mine, they wouldn't have worked with me again. Why would they? You know? And another one, and probably my final one, because I feel like I could go on a list of, I could go on this rant for a long time, being bitter about their own pain. So and it depends whether you're looking at this from the perspective of if you are supporting someone being bitter about your pain when they're expressing something, or vice versa, if you're telling someone something and they're like, oh, well, it's easy for you, like that kind of thing. And what I mean by that is if someone comes to you and tells you that, I don't know, they've lost their job and they're devastated and you're unemployed, you being like, oh, well, at least you had a job. Like there's that bitterness and it's like that's not supporting them. That's not helpful at all, right? And similar, like if someone doesn't get a promotion and you're a manager and you just didn't get a promotion, like making it about you, you know? So some of these feel so basic, but I also think that people lack the self-awareness to realize that they're doing these sometimes. And sometimes people trying to support other people maybe aren't quite ready to be in a position that they're supporting other people. Um, and ultimately, there are still far too many people getting it wrong. There are still far too many people getting it wrong. And it fucking hurts us. It hurts me. It hurts you. It hurts people. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind. So take a breath, Jackie. I'm getting very worked up, as you can tell. When I think about the key things that genuine support includes or must be, the first one is, again, basic, listening. Listening to someone. And I mean really listening, right? Actively listening, not being on your phone, not being distracted, not being in a hurry, just shutting your mouth and listening to them, right? Turn your ears on. I say that to my 4-year-old, almost 4-year-old. Hunter, you got your listening ears on? And he actually pretends to turn them on, right? So I'm not saying don't comment or contribute to the conversation. But I am saying don't talk over them, don't cut them off, don't insert your comments or thoughts or tell them what to do, because that's not listening. When someone needs support, they first need to feel heard, because this is the only way they're going to be comfortable in opening up and being vulnerable, right? So listen. In basic terms, shut up and listen. If you're new here, welcome. The second thing, ask questions and offer advice, suggestions, and referrals. Referrals in capitals. This means asking them questions about what's going on. Get curious. Suggest things that you believe might help them. But again, don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them they have to do something. Don't tell them what you must do this. No, 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 no. Be a part of the conversation and be curious, not like pushy, right? A really big piece to this, and this is part of being trauma informed, don't try and solve problems that you aren't knowledgeable in. we as humans like have this thing with our brain that we must know everything. And if we don't, we scramble for solutions. We scramble for answers. And that's great sometimes. When we're looking at supporting people, it's not great, right? So don't give advice on things that you don't know. Let me get like, a very like clear example. If someone has been sexually harassed, sexually abused, sexually assaulted at work, and they're telling you about it, and you've never experienced it, aren't qualified in that area, and don't understand the complexity of it, don't launch into what they have to do. Don't launch into, don't launch your opinions at them. Don't launch your thoughts at them. You can still ask questions. You can still engage in a conversation. But if it feels uncomfortable, if you're like, oh, I'm out of my depths here, and you like, there's nothing wrong with this, right? We feel like if someone's telling us something and we're really uncomfortable with it and we don't want to hear it, we're not allowed to tell them that. That's not true, right? If someone's telling you this and you're like, oh, I actually can't, like, I don't want to hear this because I can't, like, I just don't know where to go with this. Tell them that, right? Say, like, I know you're hurting. I am not. I don't believe I'm the right person to share this because I don't know what to do with this. But let's sit down and find someone who can. Give them referrals. Sit down with them and Google, sexual assault, sexual harassment supports. Get another man. Sit with them while they get another manager. Sit with them while they call someone else, right? Sit with them while they ring HR or workplace relations, mental health providers, sexual assault support organizations, right? Not hard. Again, for some fucked up reason, we think we have to know everything about everything, and that's just not possible. And so if you can't hold that for someone, you are going to cause them more harm by pretending that you can, and then them getting to a point of being like, what do I do? And you being like, oh, I don't know, right? Don't freak out. So refer them, be honest with them. That is what supporting is, right? Stay in your own lane in a very positive way. Another one, let them know they can trust you. You know, let them know that they can trust you. And again, if what I mean by that is don't go telling everyone what they've just told you. You know, trust is very easy to break, very hard to get back. And a breach of trust, depending on what you're navigating, it can be so traumatizing. So if you've confided in someone who says that they're supporting you only to find out that they've told someone else, it's like, fuck, are you? And we've all had that happen where we've told someone a secret or something, and next minute everyone knows. You're like, okay, awesome. Thank you for that. It feels really uncomfortable, but I'm going to pretend that it doesn't bother me, but it actually does. Right? So if you're the person supporting someone else, don't fucking tell them. And don't do anything that breaches their trust. Don't another example of that is if someone shares something with you, then throwing it back in their face. Not cool. Not cool at all. Another one, don't judge, criticize, mock, ridicule, or make assumptions. I'm going to say that one again. Don't judge, criticize, mock, ridicule, or make assumptions. Real support is about providing a space where someone feels safe, comfortable to share what's going on, where they feel like they don't have to have answers or, they don't have to share if they don't want to. Sometimes being supported is just having someone to sit there with you. And if someone tells you that they're there for you, but you get this weird feeling that it doesn't sit right, or they make a joke of something that you're really not ready to make a joke of yet, it's not support. Tell them that, right? Don't be afraid to go somewhere else. I I remember in year 11 or 12, for people overseas, you might not know this show, but in year 11 or 12 on Home and Away, one of the girls was sexually assaulted. And I remember my group of friends were standing around and all of the girls not all, yeah, all of them were like, oh, as if that would ever happen, as if you couldn't fight them off, as if you wouldn't bleed if you were raped. Like all of these comments, and I hadn't told any of them that I was raped. And I just remember being like, yep, I am never coming to you with this information. Right. So don't, we all have unconscious bias. We all judge people unintentionally, but don't overtly mock or criticize or judge people or situations that you don't know anything about, or just don't do it anyway. Don't be a dick, you know? If you are confiding in someone and you feel like they've breached that, or you can't trust them, or it feels a bit sticky, you don't owe anyone anything. Just because you've told them something already doesn't mean that you then have to tell them everything. You don't have to open up to someone just because they ask you to. Am very sad still about one of a friendship that broke down a number of years ago because I felt like they didn't support me. Like I felt like the only reason they were talking to me was to get the goss, to find out the drama, to see what's going on. There weren't any questions about me. It was just like, what's happening? What's this? What's that? And I walked away from that friendship because I just, the damage had been done. It was like, how can I trust you again? Or how can I ever feel safe? And that, again, that was a lot of years ago now, and I still feel quite sad about that one. The most important thing when it comes to support is that you feel comfortable. Because if you don't and you're trying to force yourself to be supported by someone, you can cause yourself more harm. And no one wants that. And I'm talking about like if you go to a psychologist or a counselor or any professional who is supporting you and you don't click, you don't gel, you don't feel right about it, find someone else. We have this, I don't know, weird sense of loyalty to people that we don't know, right? And I used to say that all the time when I was in the police force, when I was at the uni, when someone would come and they're like, oh, I've seen a psych, but I don't, I'm not going to see them anymore. I'm not seeing anyone anymore because it just didn't feel right. Go and see someone else. But I reckon I saw 10, 10 different psychs before I found my psych. And when I met her, I knew instantly. I was like, oh, finally, finally someone who gets me. Finally, someone where I can just lay it all on the table. And I'm getting emotional because she's so amazing. Um, we've had so many conversations and I still go to her. If I notice a dip in my mental health or if something's going on, like I go and see her. And oh, it's the best, right? On the flip side of that, if you're providing support, I want you to hear this. If you are the person providing support, it is not about you. You know, you're not being measured on how well you support someone. If you are being the supporter, it is about the other person. So if you genuinely care and you can't hold space for them, don't. Tell them to find someone else, not rudely or abruptly, but be honest with them, right? Don't settle, don't cause more harm for yourself. Same goes if you're a boss. Don't just fucking half-ass your support with it by doing the tick the box support. That's shit. It's really, really shit. So in short, this isn't a short episode. It's really not hard to support someone. It is really not hard to support someone. And if you're looking for support and you don't feel comfortable, find someone else. If you're giving the support, don't make it about you, but also if you can't hold it, don't pretend to. Okay. Jackie rant over.